All right, hello everyone. Welcome back. Today is Wednesday, and we are covering a very short segment on Adverbs 2.3, which is essentially covering the goal of can you distinguish between adjectives and adverbs in a sentence? And this is really important because both of these parts of speech have very similar roles when it comes to writing, right? At the beginning of the adjectives unit, I explained to you that adjectives are not necessarily something we need to convey a thought, but they really specify a description or a clarification of how something is happening or what it looks like, right? And adverbs do something very similar. They give us even more of a clarification, telling us to what extent something is happening, right? And so these two things act very similarly and can look a lot alike in sentences. And so it's important that you can distinguish that difference in other people's writing and that you can write this in your own writing in the correct form. So, adverb or adjective. Sometimes, just like with our last unit with adjectives, the same word can be two different parts of speech, or it can be a part of speech disguised as whatever part of speech we're focusing on. So we're talking about right now the same word that could be either an adverb or an adjective depending on how it is used. So it's important to remember anytime that you are trying to distinguish between two parts of speech, it's just knowing the definition or how that part of speech is used, right? And that's something I've been really drilling into throughout the entirety of the adjectives unit and with this adverbs unit. An adverb modifies a verb, adjective, or another adverb. An adjective modifies a noun or a pronoun. So again, an adverb is telling us to what extent a verb is doing something, right? How an adjective is the way it is, to what extent is that description, or it is modifying another adverb, so kind of just stacking on top of another adverb. An adjective is actually doing the describing or modifying. It is slightly changing a noun or a pronoun in some way by making it clearer what that looks like. And so if you notice in the following examples that an adverb modifies a verb, just like we just said, and that the same word used as an adjective modifies a noun. So here's how this looks. If we're using the word straight as an adverb, it would look like this. The fish swam straight through the channel. So we can see here that using straight in this case is really just making it clearer how or what direction, more specifically, the fish is swimming. So that's how we know it's an adverb. The adverb straight is modifying the verb swam. Adjectives don't do that. Adjectives do not describe verbs. If we look at the word here, add, verb, adjective for verbs, that's what an adverb is. Adjectives do not do that. Here's what adjectives do when my little bar goes away. Adjective, the path was straight. So now we have the word straight. Oh, that's going to get annoying. Come on. Now we have the word straight modifying the word path. So it's just describing it. We're not talking about how the path is doing something. We're not modifying any verbs here. We are describing the noun path. So again, when straight is used as an adverb, it's describing the verb swam. Adjective, straight is describing the noun path. And that's really all you have to remember to be able to distinguish between these two things. If you see a word and you're like, that can go either way, I've seen this in my textbook and in my examples as both an adverb and an adjective, just look at what it's next to. Or if it's in this case, where it's a little less obvious what it's describing, just think, okay, like what is the noun in the sentence? And is this word that I'm trying to figure out describing that noun? If so, we know right away it's an adjective because adverbs do not describe nouns. That's among the multitude of things that adverbs describe, a noun is not one of them. That's an adjective's job. Moving on. You have to watch out for different forms as well, because a lot of times with adverbs, you are adding ly, right? But you do that with adjectives as well. So this is where you, again, have to look at what's being described to really hone in on, okay, is this an adverb or an adjective? So when we look at adjectives, honest response. awkward moment. Both of these are adjectives because they are describing a noun. Response is a thing. Moment is an idea. Both nouns, both being described by these adjectives. But then when we turn it into an adverb, we add an ly at the end. So we're like, oh, well, we know that these are adverbs because a lot of adverbs have ly at the end, right? Responded honestly, that's verb. Responded is a verb, and we're describing how the person is responding honestly. Moved is a verb, and we're describing how the person is moving. They're moving awkwardly. So it's very easy to make that distinction. But then we find out that a few words ending in ly are adjectives, okay? So we found a lovely shell with curly edges, right? So again, we just have to think, are there nouns in the sentence and are they being modified by these ly words? If so, they're probably adjectives. If not, they're probably adverbs. So you can't just use these little tricks like, oh, adverbs have ly to do your practices and your quizzes that I'm going to give you. Because I'm just a tricky little teacher, I like to do things on purpose to trip you up because I want to see if you're actually reading the sentence and not just using little shortcuts to get your answers. So make sure that you are always, 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 with all of these grammar things, looking for the things that you know to be true. You know what a verb is. We already learned about that. We already tested on it. You know what a noun is. Learned about that a long time ago. So if you know those things to be true and you're wondering about adverbs and adjectives, use those things to guide you to kind of figure out, okay, there's a noun in this sentence and this word that I'm wondering about is modifying this noun. It's probably an adjective, not an adverb. All right. So this segment is really all about putting together all the pieces that we have learned about throughout our time together and making those distinctions on our own, because that's what the goal is, right? I can distinguish on my own between these two parts of speech. So here's your pause and think for the day, and I promise I will actually pause long enough so where you can do it on your own. So here are your 3 sentences. I'll read them aloud. Hermit crabs are most often found along the Atlantic coast. Despite its name, many consider the hermit crab a friendly pet. Crabs work hard to insert their bodies into a discarded seashell. All right, so I will sit here for a good second so that you can actually pause and read the sentence and identify if each underlined word is an adverb or an adjective. All right, hopefully you pause so I can give you your answers. So number 1 is an adverb. Hermit crabs are most often found. So often is an adverb modifying the verb found. Most is one of those adverbs that just gets kind of stacked on there to add more detail. Not only are they often found, but they are most often found. So that is 100% an adverb. That's an easy one because if you look around the word, the closest nouns are crabs and coast. Most crabs, that's not what it's saying. Most coasts, still not what it's saying. It's saying most often. So if you look directly at what word is being modified, you can really quickly make the distinction. Okay, that's obviously an adverb because it's modifying another adverb. Only adverbs can do that. 2, friendly is an adjective here, all right? Despite its name, many consider the hermit crab to be a friendly pet. Look right next to it, we've got a noun. Only adjectives can modify nouns. We are saying that the pet is friendly. Description. 3, crabs work hard to insert their bodies into a discarded seashell. This is one of the ones that could really go either way, and you have to look at what is happening around this word, okay? Crabs are hard? Nope. It's not working as an adjective to describe crabs. Their bodies are hard? No. The seashell is hard? No. We've tried out all the nouns. We know that hard is not modifying any of those nouns. So if we think, yes, hard could be an adjective in other sentences, but it's not in this one. Because what we're saying is the crabs work hard. Our verb is work. We're describing how they are working. They are working hard. It's an adjective for a verb, adverb. All right, here's what's due today. As always, Wednesday check-in question and adverbs. That is supposed to say 2.3 practice. I think you'll know what I'm talking about when you go into Schoology. It's just the next practice down the line. So 2.3 practice is due today. As you'll notice, this week is very straightforward, very short concepts that we're learning as we go along here. But just make sure that you are really taking time to get 70% or higher on all those practices, and you will be totally set to go for the quiz next week. All right. Thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow.